Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Buzzing with Brilliance podcast, where we are sharing the secrets of extraordinary entrepreneurs, their secrets to success. I'm Mary Gooden. I'm a speaker, a publisher, and a mentor, and I delightfully support soul-inspired entrepreneurs with creating more impact, more prosperity, more visibility through speaking and writing. And I am joined today by the brilliant Ricki Heller. Uh, Thank you for being here today, Ricki. Share with the audience a little bit about who you are and how you support your clients.
Sure. And thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm a book coach, a writer, and an editor, and I help primarily women who are writing their first books. So as a coach, I offer guidance, mentorship, accountability, and I often work one-on-one with people as they're writing the book, but I also work as a developmental editor. If someone has a completed manuscript and they're looking to just ensure that the structure really works or that the organization really works, that there's a consistent voice from beginning to end. That's the kind of thing I do as a developmental editor.
It's powerful stuff too. So Ricki and I met just a few short months ago in some business calls, and I love what you stand for, Ricki, like really supporting women as a publisher, as somebody who as a soul really who came here to support that impact that we make with our voice and the consistency of our voice and how we present and represent ourselves in the world. I think it's really powerful. So I'm just excited that we have finally arrived here
Yeah.
on a one-to-one. And funny when you said that you really like to support people one-to-one. I've been hearing a lot of that in my life more
Mhm.
regularly, especially with my own personal retreats. I do a lot of in-person retreats, but just you saying that again, because there had been like this massive push to get groups. You can,
Yes.
and I like that too. I do collaborative books, but there's something really genuine about being one-to-one with people. And I'm just, again, well, the last couple of months, it's really been a powerful thing. So thank you for holding a space for women really to share that level of their voice in book form, because that is the level of transformation that still such a small amount of population is has courage to give, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's so true that, and not to stereotype, but I do find that with my women clients, more so, they do not realize how much they really have to contribute. And so they underestimate, at least that's been the experience with many of my clients. They underestimate the importance of what they have to share or the impact of what they have to share, how much it's going to affect people, how much it's going to resonate with people. And so I try to help them see that, like see their own brilliance as they're writing. And I think it can make such a difference. But for me too, I really, really love the one-on-one because it's just a greater opportunity to get to know somebody and to work on a deeper level with somebody, right? Like, especially since most of the time I work a minimum of 3 months with people. And if you're meeting every 2 weeks or every week in some cases, you get a chance to dive deep into their work, but you also have a relationship with your client that way. And I really love that. That's my favorite.
I agree. Relationships are so powerful, even more so than we've ever been made to believe.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, just I'm learning that from creating an online business, which I just want to tap into this just for a hot second. I know you're going to share some really powerful tips with us today on what really has created or generated your definition of success in your entrepreneurial journey. But I would love for you to share a little bit, Ricki, about your hero's journey, kind of your journey through entrepreneurial, um, what do I want to call it? Enlightenment.
Have you got a few weeks?
Yeah, I know, right? There's
But
a couple books out, is that right?
so I'll give you the short version. So yeah, I mean, I was a college English professor for many, many, many years. And that was where I actually published my first book as a professor. It was a college English textbook. But then I got sick. And so I took a leave of absence and I had what's called candida overgrowth. And so I was really quite ill, and I took a leave of absence. I saw a naturopath who, after many, 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 many doctors. And so I decided to study holistic nutrition. And that took me on a completely different path. And it was really then that I started my entrepreneurial journey. So I had been writing a food blog for fun. I loved writing. I've always loved writing, and I've always loved baking. So it was kind of a combination of recipes and stories. And because of that, I had a pretty decent following. But then when I ended up being diagnosed with candida and working on clearing my candida, that's when my audience exploded. And it's really because of my audience that I wrote my first self-published book. So I had a self-published cookbook, and I don't know if I've told you the story in our group, but this was in the early days of social media when my book was coming out. And one day I was on Twitter and I saw that Ellen DeGeneres followed me.
Mhm.
And at the time, she was always talking about how my tweets are my own. I'm the one who, handles my own account. So I started tweeting her just for fun and telling her jokes and saying, I have this vegan sugar-free book, because she had just gone vegan. And, I'd love to be on your show and share with you. And I ended up getting in this groove. This was like 9 in the morning where I got this notice. I was in this groove where I literally tweeted her like once a minute all day. And I can remember running into the room next door where we have our television, and I put it on the Ellen show, and I was making jokes about what was happening on the show. And anyway, this went on till about 5 p.m. when my husband came home from work. And I just had a great day. It was fun. I forgot about it. And then a couple weeks later, I ended up seeing this massive surge in my blog visits to my blog. And I sort of traced back where they were coming from, and they were coming from Warner Brothers. I had no idea what that would mean. I clicked on the link, and it was Ellen's website, and she had recommended my book.
Oh my God, chills.
I thought I was going to I mean, honestly, my legs were like this. I called my husband. I couldn't believe it. So that was great. Now, people would imagine that that would sell a lot of books. It actually didn't sell a lot of books, but it gave me huge, because she didn't even put a link to my book. She just mentioned it, but it gave me huge credibility. And that was the beginning of my career as a writer. I acquired an agent because of that. And then my second book and my third book came out. And while this was all going on, so a publisher contacted me to write a book about candida, which is what I had been going through. And that was really what I had wanted to write about from the beginning. So I was thrilled with that. Wrote both those books. And then I had this kind of epiphany during the lockdown. So I had developed this whole career around, I studied to be a holistic nutritionist. I was, coaching people on candida who had candida. I had these two books. Um, but during the pandemic, I was at home like so many people. And one day I was just kind of cleaning up the files on my computer, just organizing things. And I came across this folder that was full of like 3 dozen articles and stories I had written way back when I had thought about wanting to get published. And it was like, they say the classic knife to the gut or whatever. I just thought, I can't let go of this. This is what I really want to be doing. Why have I left this for so long? I knew I had to get back to it. So I pivoted, and I just kind of announced to the universe that I was now a book coach and editor. But it's so strange. You'll appreciate this, how the universe works, right? Serendipity. I happened to be on a call, this was like a week later, with a colleague I'd met in a different business group years before. We were catching up. And I said, oh, I've changed what I'm doing now. I'm working as a book coach and editor. And there was like this silence. And she said, I literally just finished my manuscript last night. I want you to be my editor. So she was my first client. And she's the one whose book was recommended in the New York Times as one of the 7 essential books on menopause, my very first client. She's brilliant, Rachel Lancaster. Her book is just amazing. But in any case, so that felt serendipitous to me that, it was just by chance that I acquired this client. And then I just kept going from there. I loved working with Rachel so much. And I realized I just want to do this. And the beauty, from the personal angle, is that it also allows me to keep up with my own writing, my personal writing. And I have been doing a lot of that. And I've been writing consistently on Substack. I've published every week since 2021. So I'm very proud of that.
Bravo.
So that's where I am today. Now I'm working both as an editor and as a ghostwriter with people.
And celebrating you, Ricki, just celebrating you big at how you just kept taking the steps. And I love that blurb. I think this is important. I just want to come back to, you'd think that because Ellen DeGeneres had mentioned your book, that it would sell a lot of books. And it didn't, but it wasn't about that. Like you said, it was
Right.
about that credibility. It was about confidence in
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And what's really feeling so important right now, especially in entrepreneurship, is your one little thing, your one little invitation as off the wall or on the wall, whatever that little piece is, that's what you get to bring to life. That's what's going to give you that fulfillment
Yeah.
that is what I consider the definition of, extraordinary abundance, that fulfillment piece.
Yeah.
But there's little things along the way that you can't be disappointed in. You weren't disappointed that it didn't sell any books. You went right to the value. I love that. This is like a
Well,
magic
this is
tip. You
years
went
later.
right to the value. I know, but you went right to the value. Like
Yeah,
you talk
because I
about
can
it
see
in the
that
value
now, right?
proposal. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention about that, because I think this is so interesting. At the time, I had no expectations that Ellen was going to respond, and nothing. I was just having so much fun. Like I said, I got in this mental groove. And for me, that was fun, coming up with jokes and one-liners and things. And I know that if I had thought about it any longer, or even thought about it while I was doing it, I probably would have thought to myself, oh my God, what am I doing? This is Ellen. She's too, Ellen's not going to listen to me. Who am I? And I would have just left it. It was because it was from this spontaneous, sort of pure place that I really was having fun with it. And that, I think it worked, honestly. It wasn't like a strategic move or pre-planned or anything like that. It was just something that came to me. And I think that, looking back, I realized that was an important thing to acknowledge, that
Oh.
when I do things that feel natural and that I'm truly passionate about, that's when, change
That's
happens and things make a difference.
Yeah, that's the title of my next book coming out. Let it be easy, let it be fun.
Yes,
When I'm in
yes.
that flow, and then the universe says it, and then I'm just going to get up one day. I mean, it can be this fun, like like you said, Ricki. I'm going to get up and I'm going to say, I'm a book coach. I'm a book coach, and then the universe is going to really swing in if you're paying attention,
Yeah.
and bring you that which you just claimed almost immediately. You do have to pay attention though. So I'm sure that these tips that you're going to share with us are going to get us closer to kind of flourishing, just like your hero's journey is
I'm
to
not
me.
sure
And
if
it's
you're
for
still
all
there.
these. Yeah, I'm still here. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can. I think I got cut off there for a second. So
Oh,
sorry. So
that's
sorry.
okay. Well, I was just going on and on about how you're going to share these extraordinary tips with us, that have you in this place, because I love listening to you, and you're really very inspiring, Ricki. So thanks for being here for that. So share with us, what is one of the first things that comes to mind for you, Ricki, that really supports you in being this successful book coach, the successful mentor, really, in writing?
Well, I think we were kind of just talking about it, and this is something that has come to me over the years, but I think it's the idea that we should never discount past experiences or what we're going through at the moment, even if we don't see how it connects to what's going to happen or to our final path. Because when I look back, I can see how everything that I did, even though I switched careers completely and now I pivoted again to do something different for the third major career in my life, that what happened when I was a teacher, for instance, and I published that first book, that gave me the confidence to understand the process and how a book was put together so that I could self-publish my book, which is the book that Ellen then recommended, right? And, people said to me when I decided to leave holistic nutrition and the coaching I was doing there, you put all this work into it. It's such a waste. Don't you feel like it's a waste that you did that? Now you're moving back to English. And no, I don't at all, because not only did I love what I was doing and I felt like I learned so much, but that's where I started coaching people one-on-one, and I learned how to be a coach. I learned how to be an effective coach. And so those are skills that I bring to this part of my life and my work. So I think it's really important to understand that everything sort of builds on each other, and where you are today is truly a result of where you were years passed and how everything built on each other.
I love that number one. We were just talking about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't discount any part of it, even when it, even when it feels like it came out of nowhere. It's all a catalyst. I love
Yeah,
that number
yeah.
one.
And it
Everything's a
it builds who you are, right?
it,
Yeah.
I say that a lot, and I have lots of stories out there and lots of shares in multi-author books, and I've got my own little abundance book, but that's the biggest part of one thing I remember saying when when I finally came home to myself or opened my heart enough was my relationship of 25 years was really a catalyst to the very best version of me. And I would do all of it again, after 25 years, transformation happened, things evolved, but it was, I would do it all. I would do it all, even though there were parts that at the time were like, why me?
Yeah.
I would do it all again to be at this place in my life. So,
Yeah.
so
Same.
that's it. Number one, write it down in case you forget to get your pencils and pens out. Everything
Mhm.
leads to where you are. She says, don't discount what happens. It's
Mhm.
all like a catalyst. It's all part of getting you to here and now.
Yeah.
Feels good. I wanted to say it again because it feels good to say it. Everybody should now
Good.
say that out loud to themselves. We're activating things here. That's extraordinary. All right. So thanks, Ricki. What's number two?
So I think number two is it kind of grows out of that is it is never too late to do what you want to do, to try something new, to start over, however you wanted to phrase that. I mean, I quit my job. So I had this very secure college teaching job, and I quit at age 55 before I got to my, secure pension or whatever. And I just felt, looking back, I wish I had done it earlier. But the fact is, I still was able to do what I loved. I left, and I have learned so much since I left that job. Being an entrepreneur, as you well know, is like the biggest self help course in the world, self
Right.
development course in the world. And so, if it's a cliche to say it, but it's so true. The years are going to go by anyway. So, if you wait 5 years to start what you want to do now, it's just going to be 5 years later and you'll be in the same place. So, you may as well start it now. I feel that if people are open to learning and people are interested and curious, it doesn't matter what age you are.
It's so true. I'm finishing a book with a client right now that basically says that too. Like
Yeah.
Irina, I'm giving you props, but go
Mhm.
go after your dreams now.
Yeah.
Just do, write that on
Yeah.
your bathroom mirror. Go after your dreams now. And I kind of did something similar to that when I was playing in my corporate carnival,
Mm.
chasing that dream of somebody else's, and then starting to dive deep into fitness. This is when I was really into fitness because I loved coaching people in their movement, in their, bringing their endorphins up. I loved being on the stage with that. And I know that sounds
Mm.
weird, and it prepared me for all these other stages. But yeah, I dabbled in both of them. So
Mm.
just as
Interesting.
you did, you got out of that paradigm of you have to wait till you're 65 to retire. And you started walking it out, and anybody really you can start making those choices.
Yeah.
This morning, I just want to post that you make your life what it is. What life is, what you make of it. So pick a
Yeah.
recipe. And now we're getting Ricki's recipe.
And it's a non-food recipe, which is unusual for me.
Right.
Right.
Which is,
But but
not necessarily different than where you started, just talking about different things.
different kinds of recipe. But
Yeah.
it's true. And I mean, on that topic, one of my very favorite quotes is, "It's not too late and you're not too old." Right.
Mhm.
And I just think that's words to live by.
I agree. I think it's words that you can repeat every morning when you get up. It's
Yeah.
never too late and I'm never too old. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gave me a new affirmation, so thank you for that. All right, so if I had a drum, I da 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 da. So what is your lucky number three, Ricki?
I think this one has to do with business specifically, and people who may hold themselves back because they don't perceive themselves as either knowledgeable enough or enough of an expert. Like I hear this a lot with writing. People say, "Well, I'm not an expert. Who's going to want to listen to what I have to say in my book?" And I think it's really important to remember you don't have to be the expert. Like everybody thinks that they have to be the last word in whatever it is in order for people to listen to them. But that's so not true. And one of my previous mentors talks about contributing to the conversation, right? Like if you contribute to the conversation at whatever level you're at, as long as there are people who are not yet at that level, it doesn't matter if you're not the top or the number one expert. You just need to be an expert in what you know that can help others along in their own journeys. And I mean, when I wrote my book on Candida, there were loads of people who'd written other books on Candida with way more credentials than I have. And yet my book resonated with certain people. It increased my business, it increased my credibility, all the things that books do, as you well know. And yet there was an audience for it, right? And if I had thought, well, I'm not as big as so-and-so, or I'm not as educated as so-and-so, I wouldn't have written it. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. There's always someone who can learn from what you have to say.
Mm-hmm. It's so very true. And I love kind of bringing a finish to it with that. When I started my hybrid publishing company 3.5 years ago, that was the kind of the thing that came through. Every experience is a gift to inspire someone. Every experience, every part of our lives that we're willing to share has something to awaken or enlighten or activate or just, help
Yep.
someone else when we're willing to share it. And it's not to say that everything resonates with everyone, but
Exactly.
something you have will resonate with someone. So there's no comparison.
Right.
And stepping out of that paradigm, there's no comparison. There's
Yeah.
just what you feel passionate about, and why die with it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why die with that? Like, let
That's
it
right.
go. So the
Yeah.
next thing can come, right? Because one other thing I know that probably is like a bonus tip, I'm going to say it, but I know that Ricki has something to share with us, a gift for us, an invitation for us, but it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to capitalize on one dream and then go chasing the next one.
Exactly. Right? Why not? No pause. Just keep going.
Enjoy, go and grow. So thank you for sharing all of those lovely tips.
Oh, my pleasure.
Everything you do leads to where you are. That's number one. Number two, keep learning. You're never too old to learn. There was a quote. What was the quote?
You're not too old and it's not too late.
I love it. And it's never, and then that last piece, what you have is magical. What you have to say, you may not be the expert. This is so true, but you are an expert in your experience.
Absolutely. Right. And nobody can take that away. And there are people who are waiting to hear that. If I can just quickly tell, like one of the stories I was telling a client, when I was diagnosed with Candida, it was before, now it's almost like fashionable, people, writing about it all the time. But there was nothing out there about Candida. There were no recipes, there was nothing. And there was one woman I dug and dug and dug who had a very tiny blog, and I emailed her and she answered my question. I had just one of my questions, but she was the only person I found who actually responded or had anything to say about the topic. And that one person probably saved me from like a mental breakdown, because I had hope that she got better, I could get better. And if she hadn't done that, now she hadn't written a book, but if there had been a book out there at that time for me, I can't even imagine how much it would have helped me, right? Because I was at my breaking point when I found this woman. So don't underestimate what you have to say and what you have to share.
Brilliant. I love it. All right. So you have something coming up. Like
I
literally, I
do.
think today it is live.
I believe it is today, October 22nd. So it's called You Can Write a Book. It's a 3-day free mini course. And I'm going to be talking about the foundational things that you need to know in order to actually start your book. So even if you're seeing this after day one, as long as it's within the span of the 3 days, 22 to 24, you can certainly sign up and join us for the rest of it. Or we're in a Facebook group, a private Facebook group, so you can hop in and see the videos from any previous days. And I would love for people to join us. if they want to learn about what they need to know in order to start their book.
I love it. What you need to know in order to start your book. So I'll have links for that ready and available. Ricki, thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey with us, your tips. Thank you for this offering of really getting people in a position where they are going to know that what they have to say matters, and just really supporting the voices of women all over the world.
Thank you for having me on. It's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, it's always a good time. So for the listeners, thanks so much for listening until we get to share in this space again. Keep buzzing in your own brilliance, because what you have is brilliant. Bye for now, everyone.